Hi, I'm Kerena Saltzman, and I'm here with my husband and partner, Ben.
Hey, we are in Manchester, Massachusetts, and we are in ending of week 2 of a 3-week vacation out here. And it's raining, and we're at our family land where we come every summer. And we decided we would do another couple of the Salties, which we haven't shot in a while, but people seem to like them. And in the Salties, we're often talking about what's coming up between us and how are we negotiating relationship and power and taking care of our 7-year-old, 8-year-old daughter, Jordan, and sharing some of the principles and skills with you all. And we've noticed that people really like it when we're kind of raw about our experience and when we're in connection with each other. So we're just going to let it rip.
And the negotiations and conflict and frustrations and dance of contemporary relationship can get
pretty dicey.
Can get dicey. And just like we're in it with you, this is not here's how to do step 1 through 3 and you will have the perfect relationship. Like, no, that's not what we're up to here.
It's not going to happen that way.
I have a brief, funny, salty story. It's just going to last less than a minute. And then let's go ahead. It's such a good one.
We just talked about keeping this very precise, so it will be very short because you only have a 3-minute attention span. We're going to push to 8 here.
This was my
that was
thing.
Her desire.
You only have a 3-minute attention span.
So do your title. Okay.
So we shot these last summer, and we are in a flooring store in Santa Cruz.
About a year later.
Yeah, about a year later, and I hadn't really looked at these, I just kind of let them go. We're in a flooring store, and we're just having a shitty day. Like, it's just, we're at our worst, right? And
going at it, back and forth about...
what kind of floor to get.
Right, what kind of floor?
We wanted this jacked up floor.
She wanted a floor that looked like, I don't know, like a painting or something. I'm like, what is that?
So we're in this full conflict, right, in the middle of the store. Our daughter's with us, and the guy who works there comes up to us and he says, "Is this a Salties moment?" And in my mind, I'm like, you are freaking kidding me. This is a guy who has watched the videos.
Yeah, watched all the Salties.
And is now calling us out in the flooring store in Santa Cruz.
Yeah, like you've watched the Salties? You're like, what the hell?
Right. It was an odd moment. So anyhow, in service of you all,
and we leave there, and Kerena goes, "I feel kind of famous." I love that.
Famous and embarrassed. But in a beautiful way.
Right.
So, we're shooting these partly because we hope that in our messiness and in our humanity and in our learning and growing, that it's somehow of service to you, ultimately.
Yeah. And we're blazing new trails in relationships because you think about your parents, you don't want to do a relationship the way they did it, or your grandparents, the world is so different. The desires and who makes the money and how do we parent and how are we in relationship is so different that we have got to create new agreements with no template. Like, we are all going into unknown territory together, and we're going with you to describe it as it's unfolding here. So Salty, let's do the kind of what it was like before, expectations before, and expectations now, and the change.
Why would we do that?
Because we want them to get a feel for the history of relationship a little bit. No? You don't want to do that?
Okay, so let me get this clear. I thought what you were proposing was kind of a bad idea, but let me come back to it again.
Okay.
So talking about what relationship was and what it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
You're good at it. You can probably edit that out if you want.
Okay. So, my mom's generation, I could talk a little bit about that, right? So my mother was the parent of 5 children. My dad, he was the primary income earner. He went off to work. She stayed home with the 5 kids. Very little support, living in West Texas. Yeah, it just sounds horrible, honestly, and very difficult. And when I was 10, she kind of had a break of, I'm going to go off and live my life. And so my dad ended up raising, 5 kids. She came back in and out, but not as a primary sole parent. And
she's going to watch this.
Right, yeah.
You're okay with that?
You're wonderful, Mother. We have a great relationship now. I love you. And that's what went down.
Okay, all right.
I mean...
So I want to say then, she has come back into our lives and is the primary, like the one in Kerena's family that spends the most time taking care of Jordan, loving her up. Like, their relationship is magnificent.
And another piece of this story is the picture I wanted to draw from that is how hard it was on women at that time, and how now in my life I really honor and respect her for choosing herself, even though there was a big hit for it. That I actually think she needed to do that to survive. And that is not an equation. That old model, right, is a difficult model for a lot of women to sign up for these days. We're not interested in.
Yeah, and just to get clear on some of the expectations of that old model, male figure brings home the money, female figure takes care of the kids, takes care of the house, does the cooking and the cleaning. Male figure often comes home and checks out into alcohol, into talking with other men, into the newspaper, into TV.
And then we're going to get our intimacy needs met elsewhere. That's not an expectation on the relationship.
Yeah,
right?
like sex maybe, but not a lot of intimacy, not a lot of depth of connection. Pretty bland. So now we come forward to where we are now. Big expectation shift. So now here we are in a relationship, and you should really be good at listening to me and understanding me and probably pulling my best self forward, my authentic, marvelous self out. That's probably some of my expectation of you.
And so my expectation of you is that you are a 50-50 parent. I mean, this is actually not my expectation because we've negotiated this one over and over, but that would be the expectation. And then you're
I'm
also...
definitely supposed to be doing a lot of parenting.
Right.
It's not just on your shoulders.
Absolutely not.
Right.
And probably that you should be an ally for my business. We should also be intimate and have awesome sex.
Yeah. And in the business and in the ally for your business, my expectation is you're making some money too. This is not all on my shoulders. Like, you got to bring home some bacon, yo. And
so even as we talk about this, right, you can feel the pressure. I mean, and some of these are our expectations, but some of them are not so much, right? I mean,
most of them are. Let's be honest.
The bring home the bacon part, I do feel.
Yeah.
Some of those expectations I actually didn't feel connected to.
Which ones?
That I'm gonna listen to you.
Okay, well, it's there over here. I have the expectation, she's a therapist. I have the expectation that you listen to me very well.
Just so the record's clear, I'm no longer a therapist. I've left that a little while back.
Yeah, out there. Oh, here comes the rain. Let's wrap this one up. But I expect that she's a very good listener for me. She was trained as a therapist at one point.
The truth is I'm working on it, and it's the balance between being self-connected and then being you connected.
Right. And do you want to... So the other thing that we should talk about is what happened when you did start making more money.
Right.
Because, for a lot of the time, I was making a lot of money relative. And then in the recent, 6 months, we got to a point where I was like, oh, she could make more money than I would in a month. And I noticed that there was a lot more renegotiating of how much time am I spending taking care of Jordan, and who's doing what cleanup, and I was just like, there's a not so subtle thing around power and money that gets played out.
And I actually wasn't that aware of it, in all honesty. I just knew I had a lot on my plate, and it felt like, oh, I want a 50-50 relationship in terms of what household reality. That started to come up more and more. Though I wasn't consciously aware of making those, chess moves.
Yeah. I was thinking it was coming.
Uh-huh.
As I heard you're making more money, I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting.
And how was that for you to feel more like, okay, she's asking me to show up in these certain ways, and she is making more money?
I was excited that you were making more money. I felt competitive with you, like, I'm going to make some more money if you're making more money. There was a little bit of like, hey, we just renegotiated, the Who Takes Care of Jordan win a couple of years ago. Like, what's changing because you're making more money? Really? That's what this is all based on?
So I want to say, just for the record, that I am a little embarrassed to have that be known that I make more. This year I may make more money than you.
Yeah, you're embarrassed that they might know.
I'm a little embarrassed. I would almost rather you see see him as the one who's making more money, because I don't know why. It just makes me a little embarrassed. And flip side, I'm also very excited about what's possible and what I could leverage. Because I think there's a lot more. Like, I think I've just begun.
Right. Yeah. I think you're going to be making a lot more money than me in the next couple of years.
I do too.
Yeah. But can we talk for a minute about the embarrassment?
Okay.
Okay, so you're embarrassed that they know that you might be making more money than me. What's the embarrassment about? Why are you embarrassed about that?
Somehow the focus will become more on me. Like, somehow if you think he's making money, I can be eclipsed a little more and not so visible. But if I have to be fully visible, you may judge me. You may, like, if it's other women, they might feel like, who the hell are you to even say you're making more money? Like, that's quite a braggadocious thing to say.
You're kind of pumping yourself up here.
Yeah. And for women to women, men do that all the time, but
we have permission somehow.
We're not. It's like, I don't even like saying this, but it's like a potentially a bid to get taken down.
To get taken down.
Yeah.
If you get up that high, somebody's gonna come after you.
Or not like you.
You're like no. So, I think let's wrap this one here.
Yeah.
And move inside.
Yeah.
And that will be the end of this episode.
Let me see if there's anything else, because I don't quite feel done.
All right.
So I think the piece that I want to come back to is that negotiating power and roles in relationship is this constantly moving thing, and there's no real right or ideal way to do it. I think it's just being able to have a conversation in partnership of like, can we be in the flux of negotiating this as we go so that we both feel empowered, and that regardless of who's making money, it's like we both get to feel empowered. And I think that is, for me, the goal partly of relationship.
Yeah. And I would add, just to support you if you're going through something like this, the things that seem to help for us is exploring what's going on for the other person without agenda in the middle of the conversation where you probably have a lot of agenda. When you're renegotiating power, time, who's doing what around the house, who gets to go after the career or money.
Or who gets more time for learning experiences is one thing, like, who travels more, who gets to go take classes and learn more.
Because we both value that really highly, so there's often a negotiation with us around
We're
that.
in negotiation right now.
You probably have your own thing that you would negotiate that might not be that. But that there is an attending to like what's important for the other person. When I was just asking, why are you embarrassed? That question could have easily have been, why do you care so much about going to such and such? Or like, I want to get your world around this. So just if you can really put some spaciousness in the conversation and try to get their world, it often helps. Good?
Good. Okay,
Right, so
I feel better.
now we're done. Thank you. And if you are on Facebook watching this or on YouTube watching this, please head over to touchedandtransformed.com and sign up. We have tons of free video for you. So if you sign up for our newsletter, we will get you free videos every week.
So if you are watching this, you can go to my website at KerenaSaltzman.com. I don't have any videos. Don't ask to coach with me because I won't call you back. And but if you want to put your email in, there may be something like 6 months from now that comes up that I could offer you potentially. Or if you're a very exciting person and you find this interesting and you want to have a long conversation about it, I'd be open to geek out on that.
Wow.
If
There you go.
I deem you interested. Okay.
There you go.